Hey guys, how you doing? Chicken Fried Rice here, and guess what? Today we're going to be playing some R.U.S.E. Now this is not a live commentary because, well, this game happened, and you know what guys, this was a very interesting game that ended up in the end, so let's just do a little bit of a turnaround here. Let's take our perspective. So PBR Redneck here is actually a fan of the channel. He made us aware of that at the beginning of the game. So we decided that we were going to give him a little treat. First of all, I told him I would give him a shout out, which I just did, because that's just awesome. It doesn't happen very often that I get to meet people that are fans of my channel. And, well, we are going to be playing a very interesting playstyle. We do this sometimes. I will tell, he is a pretty solid player. He's not the best, but I've seen a lot worse. He's a solid all-around player. So these guys, well, yeah. So every time everyone does is they build a base right here. So is your bye-bye anticipating that, also as their lobbycock, sends in an M13 without even taking the M15s right away. So let's take my perspective, and here you have Thundertoe, also known as Evo Danny. Big shout out to him, and he's going to be playing as German Air at the beginning, so that's going to be an interesting build. So right off the bat, what I do is I go 2 depots and 1 barracks. Now right away, this guy, PBR Redneck, is going to come and get a truck snipe off of me. Now unfortunately, I used I used both my ruses. Both of them were helping out Is Your Bye-Bye and Thundertoe, so I was in no position to use any to defend my truck. Just fine, it was only a barracks. So what I'm going to start by doing is immediately right here is I'm going to take all of these depots, and you guys are going to see how of an unconventional strategy this is. Right here, their lobby cock is sorry about that. In the middle, taking down this guy's secondary HQ. I'm not sure he's going to kill it. I think he's just waiting to be able to capture it at this moment. But he did get a few truck snipes off trucks that the guy tried to build. So right here you have some German infantry heading for the town, and you got some M15s from Is Your Bye-Bye coming in. Right here you have PBR, who's just doing what a good British air would do. He's just shit disturbing people. And at this point, Thundertoe, who hadn't built anything previously, comes out with the Me-262's German jet fighters. Now this puts Redneck in an interesting position, because Redneck had been using fighter bombers so far. He didn't take the time to attack the Spitfires. He wasn't expecting an air counter right off the beginning, because we don't really have air nations. We have Germany, and Italy. And Germany's not an early air game. It's better in the late game. But we do manage to make do with what we have. So let's just increase the speed here. You have Is Your Bye-Bye here, who's just basically taken over the area. He's intimidated this guy here out of expanding rapidly, so that's happening. And in the meantime, he's devoting a few troops to harass here and there. But really, the bulk of his economy, I believe, will be going to expanding the amount of depots he has, which is what he's doing. Right here, you have enemy troops moving into that city. Obviously, you can tell that this guy, since he still has his secondary, is still up for a fight, and he did not lose too much. But on the same time, Is Your Bye-Bye with these 2 M15s is making his way all the way over here, and by doing so, he's forcing the enemy to switch up. Now this German player is probably sending an anti-tank gun, but what you have to consider is what he's done here by moving his M15s in this direction. He's forced Redneck have to build an anti-tank base, and then have to get some anti-tank guns to deal with those M15s. Now that's a really good strategy, because here's the thing, to upgrade, well, to get AT, that's, as Britain is a couple, it just drives your economy a little down, because he's going to build those anti-tank guns, stop the attack, and then he's going to have to go straight back to air to engage Thundertoe. And he's not going to use that AT base for the rest of the game, so that's kind of dumb. So right here, here's our strategy right now at the moment. As you've noticed, I have not made a single unit of the game so far. Now this, in fact, is actually part of our strategy a bit, and this might persist a bit throughout the game. I'm not going to be making a lot of units, guys. I'm just going to be a source of revenue. Now, usually in any regular game, in a 3 versus 3 on D-Day, the defenders have a harder time winning, and which makes sense. The defenders are going to have to most likely use all 3 of them. Well, right here, I'm not going to be playing at all. It's just Thundertoe and Is Your Bye Bye. Those 2 are going to be taking on all 3 of these players by themselves. And if we look at Camp Neutral right now, this guy's got a stack of AT, okay, but they're not doing too much to be aggressive. This German player is really setting up a defensive net. But when you're playing the attacking role on DJ, you want to be pushing out. Don't necessarily want to be take him out right away, because if you try and do that, there's a very good chance he might get pushed back. But what you might want to do is just create a strong beachhead so you can abuse of all of these depots, which this guy can't do because this your bye-bye has some units there. And you want to be able to abuse of these depots and these. So these guys aren't pushing out at all. They're really hugging their city, and they're like, hugging their spawn area. And they're really not expanding. They're not forcing us to do anything. We're just relaxing. No one is building anything right now, except for, well, actually no one. Their lobby lock is doing some stuff, but nothing major is happening at this moment. Let's head back to my perspective. And as you can tell right here, I'm heading into this city with some infantry. Right here, he's going to move in some infantry into that city. And he's got 2 infantry in there, so it's nothing too big to worry about, but still. I move in with my infantry here. Their lobby lock wanted me to get rid of some infantry that were in there, so I take care of that problem. So like that, he can move up and take those depots. It's really, that infantry is pretty much the only thing I make the whole game. That, and you guys are going to see. Now, at this point in the game, not much has happened, and we're just having a good old time. We're actually talking a lot with PBR Redneck, and we're having some interesting conversations. He's got a lot of good stuff to say. It was fun. Right here, unfortunately, Thundertoe didn't know he had infantry in the city, so his building trucks got intercepted and destroyed, which sucks because that put him quite in a pinch. When Redneck came out with the British fighters, he did not have enough money to pump out, well, he had a fair amount of German fighters already, but he didn't have a lot of money to make more, which is what he would have probably liked. Right here is your bye-bye, gets pushed back by infantry supported by AT, which is a serious problem for him because he cannot engage that AT because of his M15 tanks. He went for a mainly armor build, so that AT was a smart move on the other player. Now, unfortunately for him, Is Your Bye-bye had air support. Now, what Is Your Bye-bye is going to do is he's going to counter that by combining Italian M105s with M15s. Now, M15s destroy Lees. Obviously, this guy did not have the time to upgrade. Shermans would have done a lot better in this scenario. And the reason why he's getting these assault guns is not to deal with the tanks, but he wants to be able to deal with the enemy anti-tank guns, the unarmored ones. He hasn't made armored AT yet, and if he does make armored AT, then it's a little easier to engage with tanks. Well, to an extent, because armored AT is a lot more expensive than unarmored AT. So right here you see him, he's being forced to destroy his own buildings, which really sucks. But at this point, so that was a good little push he had going there, nothing too major. But right here, let's see what he has in the city. He has infantry and anti-air and anti-tank guns, so he has a bunch of shit moving out. Now all of this is unarmored units, so Thundertoe doesn't even have to change his production. He can keep making jets and still be hammering away at the enemy. He doesn't even have to spend money on getting bombers. And if you look at me here, I haven't made anything apart from 4 admins. Now, 4 admins at 11 minutes in the game. Now, I've said it before, going for an admin build right off the bat is not a good idea. I didn't go for the admin build right off the bat. I went and secured all the immediate depots in the area. Then what I did is I went admin, didn't make a single unit. Why? Because what happened here is we did a little bit of a trade-off here. Because all income is shared in R.U.S.E, I can make all the admins in the world, and these guys will still have all the income in the world. Now you see right here, Thunder Toes already made 2, but I've secured a large amount of depots. So good part of the economy that the team is receiving is coming from me. So right here you see an abundance of M105s being built by Is Your Bye Bye. Now the reason for this is just a few of them won't be enough to take down a bunch of anti-tank guns. So what do you do in that situation? Well, you make a whole entire bunch of them apparently. Now unfortunately for Is Your Bye Bye, he doesn't have any anti-air around him, but these are fighters and he is using armored units, and worst comes to worst, he does have Thunder Toes air support. So you look over here, there is nothing. If they were to do a full-scale offensive on this flank, we would probably not be able to stop it because we are not, well, he could send some jets over and maybe get a few fighter bombers out, but if it would be well-prepared attack, it could be very, very deadly. And the German guy's still not doing anything, actually. The German guy is just going admins. These guys are all going admins. They're not playing aggressive. The problem is when you're playing as the attacking team on D-Day, you have to play aggressive. If you don't play aggressive, the defending team is going to have the advantage. Think of it. We have all of these depots. We have all of those depots. We have all of these and all of those. All they have is this small area here. And that's not enough depots to be able to counter us. So we have a huge advantage at this point. You have to be aggressive very early in the game when you play D-Day. Not as a defensive team, you can be aggressive. Make it a controlled aggression to basically limit the enemy team's movement. Because if you limit their movement and you secure those depots, well then you're going to have that late game advantage. Right there, BJJ surrenders, which was the American player. Obviously, Is Your Bye Bye's M105s is just too much for this guy to handle. And so what I'm going to do now, guys, is I'm just going to slightly fast forward, and I'll see you guys then. Alright guys, welcome back. We're about 5 minutes later in the game. And so far, not much has happened. Thunder Toes made a much larger Air Force, all MA-262 still. Is Your Bye Bye here is just sitting there with all his M105s, not pushing in. This guy's apparently got Tigers. If we go in my perspective here, you can see that this guy has a massive infantry rush heading for the city. Now, for some reason, he really wants that city. I have a few anti-aircraft guns in there, but it's nothing major. And here comes Thunder Toe with the jets. He's just going to strafe every single infantry in that city. Well, maybe not every single, but he does a huge amount of strafing, which makes, well, just kills a lot of the infantry that was on that attack. That was probably 20, 30 units right there. Right here you see Is Your Bye Bye is just hunting down the last enemy units stranded behind his lines, and he's going to get ready to attack. Now notice, no one is building any units except for Thunder Toe, who has 3, 4 admins. Is Your Bye Bye here has a lot more. He has 9, 10 admins, and I have a huge amount of admins. Why? Because the only thing I'm ever making is this infantry. Basically, I'm just holding the city. But right here, what Thunder Toe, or Evo Danny, does here just for fun is he decides to surround the city with machine gun nests. Basically, if this guy tries to make a move, he's not going to be able to. He's going to get owned. Yeah, right there, for some reason, his construction trucks decides to go straight through the city. Not the best thing, but, you know, you have to deal with that. And right here, you look at his majestic Air Force. Still, not much happening. This is not a super exciting game. We weren't playing extremely aggressive because we wanted to screw around, and it was working so well because at this point we had all the depots, and on top of that, because I went purely administrative buildings, we had a huge economy advantage, a huge one. And you guys are going to see we are going to have probably one of the biggest economies I've ever seen in R.U.S.E ever since I went up against that hacker. Probably bigger than what the hacker had. I still managed to beat him. If you guys haven't seen that video, you should really check it out, but it's really, really good. What I'm talking about is in R.U.S E, I went up against a hacker who had 30 admins in the first 5 minutes of the game, which is a little ridiculous. Right here you see is your bye-byes getting some admins. It's always nice to help out. He has nothing better to do at this point, you know? Like, sure, Thundertoe makes a few planes, but Redneck comes in for another attack with a bunch of infantry. Thundertoe strafes him and only loses, I think, about 2 aircraft, which is pretty darn good. And at this point, well, his infantry attacks me, and I am going to lose the city. Only to 1 infantry, but in my opinion, it's kind of stupid. You're sending like 50 infantry to their certain doom just so you can capture a city. Thundertoe's here's got 6 airfields, and he's making good work with them. If you look at my base here at this point, you will notice that I have amassed a fairly successful economy. Now, in any other game throughs, you'd be fine with this economy to wipe out the enemy team, but in this game, it just didn't cut it. So we're gonna skip ahead just a bit, guys, and we'll be right back. Alright guys, welcome back. I just paused this because now something's happening. Quite a bit of time has passed, and right now you'll notice we're going at 0.5 speed. Let's send it back to 1 here, but if you look at my base, I have a huge amount of admins and economy, and Thundertoe's, well, it's got quite a bit of airfields on the way to being built. So right here, the enemy army pulled out a huge air force out of nowhere. It just flew out. And so what happens is, as a response to that, Thundertoe builds the most amount of airfields in the world. The only problem with that is I'm not even sure if he'll be able to fill them all with aircraft. But in the meantime, he takes all of his Stukas and all of his fighters, and he's going to probably take on the enemy head-on. Now the problem with this is he is outnumbered fighter-wise. He doesn't have enough fighters to take on all of those. The Stukas, or sorry, not the Stukas, the Ju-87s, they can take on the fighters, but they're more decoys while his fighters do the work. Now, he has a lot of jet bombers, and if you look at his your bye-bye, he is making a bunch of P-108s, Italian bombers. Look at my economy. It is getting majestic. It is absolutely undefeated. And right here, I have a stack of infantry. I decided that this city got taken over enough times that I should have a stack of infantry ready and standing by just in case this guy tries to pull it off again. So at this point in the game, we have a huge economy. I don't know how the enemy team's doing. If you look at these guys, they don't have that much economy. They got a few admins, and this German guy is playing probably one of the worst strategies ever, which is just verbal wins everywhere. But at this point, they know they're not in a position to be able to fight us. We're not even hiding our armies. We're letting them know where every single one of our troops are, because there's just hundreds of our troops. We have a huge air force. Right here, they're going up against the enemy British Air Force, and it is an overwhelming victory. Look at that. Almost no British planes survive, and Thundertoe still has a bunch of Ju-87s going. So, at this point, we are just like, screw this, we're going to bomb them. We're going to get ready to bomb them big time. Now, I still haven't made any units apart from a couple of infantry, and right here you see is your bye-bye, getting ready to bomb him. But right here, what we didn't know at this point is really nice of Redneck, is he already had a backup Air Force building / half built, and we weren't expecting it, but he's going to be attacking our bombers. Spoilers! You know, because of that, the bomber force was sort of reduced, but we weren't expecting those those planes to get out so quickly again. So, you notice is your bye-bye here getting a lot more bombers. Thundertoe is just getting so many fighter bombers and so many bombers. No fighters, though. And then here you see, out of nowhere, comes an Air Force and starts going after Thundertoe's bombers. Now, luckily for Thundertoe, he's using jet bombers, which are 5 times, well, not 5 times, but these bombers are actually faster than fighters, and because of this, he is able to outrun any trouble he will get into, which is really good. Right here, his jet fighters go in, and they just engage the enemy. Unfortunately, on the way back, his fighter, he didn't pay attention to his fighters on the way back, and they flew over enemy AA, so he loses a few fighters here and there. But it's definitely not a crippling blow to him, considering if we look at Is Your Bye-Bye's economy, fairly big. If we look at Thundertoe's economy, it's, well, non-existent, but if you look at my economy, well, it's just ridiculous. And because of this economy, well, we have a huge, and when I say huge, I mean it, huge advantage. Right here, Thundertoe comes in with his bombers, and he literally scorches this forest. He basically wants to have a campfire. He was thinking of that. He's like, I want to roast some marshmallows, so let's make a giant campfire. And that's what he did. And campfires are awesome, I agree. And right here you see he has a bunch of planes at his base. Is your bye-bye, is just making planes. And it's really, this game was over when it started. The British player played well. Redneck did what he could. It was the German player's job to be pushing outwards rapidly. The American player tried his best. He got pushed back, but the German player really didn't play his role. Speed Styler just basically sat and got his ass kicked, hoping it wouldn't happen so badly as he thought. And right here you see he comes in with a bunch of fighter bombers, takes on a few fighters that the German player had made, and these are just a few jet fighters, sort of last minute resort. And then out of nowhere, here comes a giant bombing force, and it is pretty much the end game at this point. They're just gonna bomb the whole entire base until there's nothing left. I've never seen this. No one's made any tanks, no giant stack of anything. It's just bomber after bomber after bomber. And these bombers, there's so many bombers that they're taking down armored units. They're just not taking down regular units. They've taken down whirlwinds. They've taken down a bunch of different things. Now the enemy base are completely taken out, and all they have is their units left. So what they try and do is they try and bring them all together. Now that's probably one of the dumbest things you can do, because when you put them all together and the enemy has nothing but bombers, basically one bomber does 5 times more damage because it hits 5 times more units. So right here you see Thundertoe sends a giant bomber force into that stack and just does some serious carnage. In the meantime, Is Your Bye-Bye gathering a giant air force. In the meantime, my economy still not that good, you know. I'm working on it, but it's not that big. Honestly, guys, though, this is probably one of the largest economies I've ever... Actually, it is the largest economy I've ever done. Probably one of the largest I've ever seen in the game, or if not the largest. At this point in the game, we were probably making close to $100 every 2-3 seconds. So that's some solid income right there. And it really is. It does huge amount of difference. And as you can tell, like, I'm building admins every other second. Look at this. I got all these admin trucks coming to get built, and that's just a sign of how fast our economy was going at that point. Now, Is Your Bye-Bye and Thundertoe both told me to stop making admins, but I was like, no. They're like, you're gonna crash the game. And I kept going. We didn't crash the game, but I'm pretty sure if I would have filled the whole map up with admins, it would have probably crashed the game. And look at this. They just have a train of bombers trying to take down a tiger, and they're literally taking down a king tiger with a swarm of bombers. Now, this doesn't really happen in R.U.S.E, but when you have enough bombers, you can take down heavily armored units, as is shown right here in this ass-kicking of those tiger tanks. And all you see is just bombers everywhere. I'm surprised there were no mid-air collisions. And you have my giant stack of infantry here that are moving in, you know, because they're going to finish the job. The infantry is the most important part of the army. It is, though. It's the truth. Right here you have the infantry, and you have my economy. So, guys, I'd love to know what you think of this amazing game, looking at all this beautiful economy. And just leave your comments below. I really want to know what your thoughts on this, if you liked it, if you didn't. And as usual, thanks for watching. Leave your comments below. Please subscribe. And I'm going to stick around just to show you guys just the score at the end. You guys, it's really good. And if you guys really like this video, pop it a like, because likes are amazing. And I've never made this many admins in a single game. Never. Look at me. I'm going everywhere. Admin crazy. Look at that. That's a convoy of admin buildings. How often does that happen? Almost never. And, whoa, what the hell? Okay, that was interesting. And that is the end of the game right there. I believe, yeah. Oh wait, no, we have a king tiger. No, we have a tiger and we have a sturm tiger. So just give it a second here. His bombers are on the way. You know, he's got 50,000 of them. Is your bye-bye here's lining up a huge fleet. He wants them all to attack on the same time, most likely. I think he had something like 173 bombers at one point. That's what he told me, which is just a few. Not a lot of bombers. It's just a few. It's nothing major. It's not like you can kill everyone. I could have sent in my stack of infantry to take care of that tank, but I didn't feel like it. I just wanted to see what his bombers would do, and we're gonna get to see that just a little bit right here. Look at this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful bombing raid coming up. This guy is firing on my infantry, obviously, because you can see a few of them. Obviously, a few are gonna rout, but it's not the end of my world. I'm gonna live on, and here comes the absolute carnage. Oh my, beautiful! That is amazing. And so yeah, guys, that's pretty much all there is to this video. Just a huge amount of freaking stuff. And also, somehow they managed, Redneck managed to hide a Cromwell and get it all the way over here. Which is pretty interesting, because he might have gone Thundertoe's HQ, and Thundertoe didn't have a secondary HQ. So that's pretty funny when you think of it, but good last attempt by Thundertoe, and that's the end of the game. Now here we go, guys. You ready for this? Incomes. $50,000 in income. They had a total amount of about, I'd say 13,000, and we had close to maybe 80, 90,000. So as usual, guys, thanks for watching. Leave comments below. Please subscribe, and I will see you.